All right, so everybody wanted to beat procrastination, but before we get into the strategies for beating procrastination, let me quickly understand from each one of you, what is your take on procrastination? What do you think is procrastination? You could either type in the chat box or you could, unmute yourself and speak. Perfectly fine. My question, Satyajit, is what is procrastination? What is your take on procrastination? What does procrastination mean to you? Postponing to a later date. Okay, fair. Not act on time. Okay. Not complete the work on time. All right, fair. You're free to unmute yourself and talk if you feel you want to. Postpone action. Perfect. Okay. All right. While most of you are right, not prioritizing the important work. All right. Fair. I have one question to ask you. Is it that you do consciously or unconsciously? Both. Okay. Both. All right. A lot of you feel that it is both. Uh, so let me give you a breaking news. All right. You always know when you are doing it, right? It cannot happen that you don't know when you're doing it. It's important to understand the meaning of procrastination. Procrastination is always in your conscious, not in your subconscious or not in your unknown, right? Let's understand, for this to be understood better, let's understand the definition. Procrastination is intentionally putting off an action. Okay, you are intentionally deciding to put off an action, knowing that you will be worse off by delaying it. So you always know that if I don't take action now, there are going to be repercussions. You always know that in case I don't take action right now, I am going to have to, eventually do it in less time, or probably there are going to be problems that I am going to face. You know that, but you still intentionally put it off. Why? There could be certain reasons. Now, those reasons, I will talk about it a little later, but it is important for us to understand that you intentionally are putting it off. So if you're putting it off intentionally, it means it is in your conscious and not subconscious. You know it very clearly that it is a decision that you are making. It is a decision that you are trying to say that, oh, you know what, right now is not the time. I will do it later. Okay, please understand. So if that is a perspective, until unless you understand that, it is going to be difficult for you to change your procrastination habit. Please remember that. So it is important that you accept this reality. The reality is you are intentionally putting it off. You are doing it consciously. So once you have accepted that, let's go ahead. Look at, do you know how much is procrastination costing you? Any idea, any rough figure thought that you would like to give here? Just a wild guess. I'm waiting for responses. Come on, come on. I would really love to hear from you. What is your thought? Time which doesn't come back, I agree, but how much? How much is that time? Are you able to give a rough number? Take a wild guess. Okay, so let me break that to you. That is on an average of 3 hours a day. So 3 hours a day is what you are spending on an average. And this was a study done based on which this number has come out. All right. So 3 hours per day on an average person spends procrastinating. And if this number looks too small right now, let me multiply that with the year, and that is 1095 hours, or 45 days a year. So every year, 45 days you are spending, or you are, it is costing you 45 days because of procrastination, right? So so do you really want to, spend this time, or you want to utilize this time for doing better things in your life? Yes, no, maybe. Can I have a quick, opinion in the chat box? What would you want to do? Would you want to spend that time, or you want to have this time extra so that you can do more with this time? Okay, Ruhi says yes. Others do not want that time to be there. Is it okay for you to spend that time? Absolutely, you want to have this extra time. Nazdeen, great, thank you. Others? Yes, no, maybe. Do you want to claim this 3 hours a day back? Yes or no? Yes, 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 yes. Great. All right. Now that I have got yeses from all of you, let me look at, like I said, why do we procrastinate? So we understood we do it consciously. We need to understand that why do we procrastinate? And procrastination is a conscious choice or a decision that we make because we always choose pleasure over pain. So we usually procrastinate, or procrastination is a battle between these three things. Okay, that is energy, willpower, or focus, right? So when you're feeling low on energy, when you are not able to, have that willpower to, get out of your bed or get out of your comfort zone and do something, or you have a shift of focus. So you know what you want, but probably you are, your mind keeps wandering on lot of things, and you have a shift of focus. And these are the three primary reasons because of which you procrastinate. It is a battle against natural human weaknesses. All right, so this is something that we need to understand. So why do we procrastinate is usually the times are when we are, those are low moments for us, where we are feeling low on energy, we are not able to, make up the will, or we are falling short of the willpower, and we are not able to probably focus on the things that we have to focus because of certain distractions that we have around. All right, so having said that, you know if you look at, if you understand it from this perspective, it is a very systematic problem, and that is why it needs a very systematic approach for you to be able to beat procrastination. Okay. Now, who all want to know what are three simple steps to beat procrastination? And the next slide, I'm going to show it to you what the three steps are. So for that, I want a quick yes in the chat box, or a quick thumbs up you can give me, so that I know that you are ready to take up the three steps to beat procrastination. Quickly, quickly, quickly. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. All right. So I will go to my next slide, and these are three very simple steps that you can take. All right, and we will dig deeper into each of these three steps, eventually. But let's first understand what these three steps are. Okay, so three steps are nothing but: first, you identify your procrastination triggers. Right now, what makes you procrastinate? And there are different things that make everybody procrastinate. By the way, there could be a combination of those different things that I talk about, that you can use, or that could be a trigger for your procrastination. Okay, so you need to be able to identify the trigger. And when you have, so basically what we're trying to do is we identify the root cause. Okay, the root cause is nothing but the trigger for why we are procrastinating. Once we are able to identify the procrastination trigger, then it'll be easy for us to have a strategy for attack. Okay, so once you have identified, you set a clear strategy for attack, and then overpower. So we will look at how to focus on the things that you should focus on, rather than those short-term temptations which tell you that, oh, you know what, 10 more minutes on Netflix, or 10 more minutes of doing something else, 10 more minutes of looking on the face looking at Facebook or something else, right? So these are short-term temptations which eventually become a you get into it and it becomes a long-term thing, right? So how do you overpower those short-term temptations is something that we're going to be again looking at. So three simple steps. First, identify what is the root cause. Second, you look at a strategy to deal with that root cause, and then overpower the short-term temptations. So these small triggers that you have which tell you that you should spend time on unnecessary things is something that we will look at how we will get rid of them. Okay, so far so good. Yes, no, maybe. Any questions in any of these? Okay, so I take the silence as no. Thanks, Nazneen. Okay, so let's look at the step number one. And step number one usually is a little, what do you say, a little tricky, because you need to really identify what exactly is triggering the procrastination that you are looking at. Okay, now what happens is, if you have to identify procrastination triggers, we need to be looking at 5 procrastination personalities. Okay, so there are 5 different types of personalities who um, you know who are there, or because of which you actually end up procrastinating. Okay, the first type of personality is a perfectionist. Okay, a perfectionist, if you look at, I'm sure you've heard of this term before. Who's a perfectionist, by the way? Who's a perfectionist? Who's a perfectionist? Perfectionist is a person who finds it hard to, the one who wants everything perfectly, which means that and there is nothing called as perfect, or there is nothing called as 100%, right? So which means essentially the person finds it hard to finish things. Okay, so yeah, you keep thinking that, oh, you know what, I have everything, but probably something more would help. Probably this is missing. Probably it was good to have something more. Okay, so all of this is what a person keeps thinking, right? So then that person forever keeps on searching for a perfect timing, perfect approach, you know that whatever perfect thing that has to come into his life. And usually if you have seen, that perfect time never comes up, because you do whatever, you still want to do better than that, right? And that is what a perfectionist does. The person is caught up in a never ending cycle of additions, edits, and deletions, right? I can do it a little better. I can make it a little, impressive. I can, add a little bit of, a better flavor to it. So this is what the person keeps doing. So the trigger for such a person is that the person is afraid to finish. Okay, so what drives this kind of a person is, a person is afraid to finish. See, what happens is, I don't want to finish. There is something definitely left. If I give it right now, probably I will have that problem. Probably that thing will come. So there is a fear, right? That fear of finishing, and fear of something going wrong after doing it too early, is something that troubles a perfectionist. Now we go to the next personality type, and that is a dreamer. Okay, so what does a dreamer do is, the person enjoys making an ideal plan, right? So the person keeps dreaming, my life should be like that, I should do this in a project, or I should do this, do that. It'll be nice to have something like this out here. The person will keep dreaming, keep dreaming, keep dreaming, keep making an ideal plan. However, there is hardly any action that the person ends up taking. they're very, very creative people. But the problem is that that creativity doesn't get them started. They keep imagining, and one after the other. Also, these people are those people who keep bettering their imaginations over a period of time. So if they imagine something today, tomorrow they will think of how that can be better, how that can be more creative, how that can be uh, more more nice, more engaging, more appealing to people, right? So that is what people keep doing at that point of time. So they're highly creative, but again, that makes it difficult for them to start. Very, very difficult for them to start. Okay. So always their whatever ideas, their imaginations that are there, they stay as dreams, but never see the light of the day. Okay. So they're always in that zone. This is such a nice thing to have. I want to do this is my ideal project, or ideal house, or ideal destination that I would want to go to. They'll keep looking at that as a thing, so they'll keep dreaming about it. And what triggers them, or sorry so what triggers them is they're afraid to start. So earlier the perfectionists were afraid to finish. Now is the dreamer, they are afraid to start. Now that is these are two opposite ends. Okay. A perfectionist afraid to finish, a dreamer afraid to start. The next personality type is a self saboteur, a person who has the fear of making mistakes. What if something goes wrong? I am not confident of doing it. I will, if I go wrong, then there are going to be problems that I'm going to end up into. So the best thing to avoid these problems is not to do it at all. Simple. Why get into that? If I have not done it, then nobody's going to criticize it. Nobody's going to say anything about it. It's just people will not get a chance to do that. So why do it at all in the first place, right? And so what happens is these people kind of have a fear, and that fear is and that fear does not allow them to be confident in doing whatever they are trying to do. Okay. So that's a self saboteur who is afraid of making mistakes. Okay. These are the people who are they just don't want to make any mistakes. They are afraid of doing that. And because they're afraid of making those mistakes, it is difficult for them to do things on time. Okay. So that's the third personality type. The fourth personality type is a crisis junkie. What happens is these people are those people who love crisis, right? Even if there is no crisis, what they will do is, oh, there is a lot of time, so probably I'll do it at that point of time. So let's say, for example, that you have to make a presentation. Now, to make this presentation, you knew this probably 7 days in advance. But you think that probably this is just a presentation. It's a 1 hour job. Even if I do it on the last day, I have a lot of time to do that. At this point of time, probably there are other things which require more priority. So let me do that. And what happens is the person, even if the person knew that the person had probably 7 days in advance to do or to complete the work, the person did not do it, waited for that last minute, and after putting it off till the last minute, that day, he or she realizes that I don't have enough resources. I thought I'll be able to do it in 1 hour, but now there is a problem. I just need to finish this, and I need to get some help from people. I don't know how I'm going to do this. So that is the kind of panic the person gets into. So the person deliberately pushes it till the last minute. Okay. So the person pushes it till the last minute, frequently underestimates the time that is needed. What happens is, like I said, the person thought it's a 1 hour job. I should be able to do it in 1 hour. But when he starts doing that particular thing, he realizes probably it takes more than 2 hours, and it's going to be a problem, because the person does not have all the resources to finish the work. Okay, is overconfident a lot of times. Okay, so this is also important to understand. So crisis junkie is actually an opposite of self sabotage. Okay, the person did not have the confidence. Here the person is overconfident that the person will be able to do it in no time. Okay, and the person also keeps juggling with a lot of things. Okay, so this is what happens to a crisis junkie. The crisis junkie is afraid of spending time. Okay, is afraid of spending time. Now coming to the fifth personality type is a busy bee. Now these people, they do what they feel they should do, right? So let's say, for example, you have 10 things to do, but you think that probably that 10th thing, which is not a priority, is easy to do, so let me finish it off. If I finish that off, I have just ticked off things from my bucket list or the to do list, and I will have a lot of time to do the other things. So what happens is the priority items actually stay, they're not done, and they focus on doing something which is not a priority. Focus on doing something which they feel they should do, or they feel that is easy to be done. And that is why then eventually, when the actual work, which has a larger impact, the deadline is near, they start struggling with it. Also, they keep busy through the day. All right, they avoid prioritizing. Okay, so what they do is, even if they have a to-do list, they will have a large to-do list, and they'll keep ticking off randomly things to be done. These people don't prioritize. These people don't think of what is a priority, what needs to finish first. They have a huge to-do list. Okay, and they focus on small but urgent tasks. So they wait for that thing to become urgent. They wait that, okay, because obviously you are ticking off whatever that you feel is easy to do right now. They ticked it off, and eventually what happened is the ones which needed priority never happened, and now they have become urgent, so they need to finish it. Okay, so that is the thing that keeps happening with them. So busy bees are afraid of spending effort. Okay, they are more, it's more like, let's finish the easy tasks first. Yeah, it'll be it'll make their life easy, is what is the conception, or the misconception that they have. All right, so I have covered the 5 personalities. I am going to be running a poll right now to understand, which of these you have been able to identify yourself with. So there may be, probably more than one things that you might have been able to identify yourself with, but you choose the one which will be most applicable to you, or you do it most of the times. So choose that. I have put in the poll. Okay, there's only one person who's responded. Come on, guys, quickly. Okay, 5 people. Okay, last 30 seconds to finish the poll quickly. So 8 people, I'm waiting for 5 more to finish. Okay, 10 seconds. Okay. All right. So I am ending the poll now, and you can see the results Here I'm sharing the results. Okay, so 30% perfectionists, 30% dreamers, 1% that is 10% self-saboteur, 10% self crisis junkie, and 20% are into the busy bee category. Great. Was it easy for you to relate to whatever I was saying? How easy or how difficult was it? So if it was easy, type in a yes. If it wasn't so easy, type in a no in the chat box. Okay, not so easy, not so easy. It was easy, all right, fair. Was confused between two options, okay. Not so easy, all right, okay. Combination of personalities, fine, yes, that happens a lot of times. So my point was that you need to choose what you are doing most of the time. And yes, I'm sure that it is not going to be very, very easy for you to do it in the first go. But over a period of time, when you keep practicing or when you keep consciously looking at things, it will be easy for you to find out. So it's important that this first step, so whenever you see yourself procrastinating, it's important for you to, get into that awareness as to why am I doing it right now. If you know why you're doing it, it'll be easy for you to look at, taking action the right way. Otherwise, what will keep happening is, you know that you are procrastinating, and you knew that you were procrastinating all this while too, but you were not able to get over that habit. And that is what will keep happening when you are not going to be recognizing the root cause. And how we are, by recognizing the personalities, we are trying to find out what the root cause is. So here are your root causes. Whenever you have this now, like some people said, there could be a combination of personalities, which is okay. But you look at the incident or the instance that you are in at that point of time, and then decide as to which personality type or what is triggering you at that point of time. Different things could trigger you at different points of time, which is also understandable. All right. Based on the trigger, you take action. Fair? Yes, no, maybe. Can I get a quick thumbs up from each one of you? Or a yes in the chat box, whatever works for you. Okay, so far so good. So if you have understood, this part, the first step, then we will move on to the next step. And the next step is talking about the strategy of attack. Okay, so how do you decide the strategy of attack? While so please understand, we differentiated these personalities, so there is not going to be one thing that fits all. So there is going to be a different strategy. There are going to be slight changes in the strategy that is going to be there. Largely it will remain the same, but yes, more some changes here and there, so that you customize it to the personality that you have. Okay, so let me start with perfectionist first. And here we are going to be talking about again 3 steps, so that you will be able to get over, or define a attack strategy for you to beat procrastination if you're a perfectionist. So as a perfectionist, what happens is, again, can we quickly have a recap of what is the trigger for a perfectionist? Anyone quickly? What is the trigger for a perfectionist not to do things? Come on, guys, I expect you to participate, and I want to quickly know what is the trigger for a perfectionist to put off things for later. Absolutely, Nazin, bang on. It is afraid to finish. The person does not want to finish. So, what do you do? The first step is to redefine what is perfect for you. Okay, so uh, if you ask yourself, so there were some people who talked about being a perfectionist. So can you quickly, in the chat box, or probably if you want to unmute and answer, that would be also great. What is your definition of being perfect or doing things perfectly? Is there a definition you have? Yes, no, maybe. To do exactly as you thought it to be. Okay. So the question is, Smita, if you are thinking that you want to do exactly as you thought it to be, the question is, what is that exact? But that's the question, right? So when you my point is, what is perfect, or what will tell you that this is done perfectly? So Kalpa says no one should criticize. Yes, no one should criticize, but then do you know what will make others not criticize? Absolutely, Nazim. Nothing is perfect. Thanks for the realization. That's very important, right? Uh, with minimum flaws. But with minimum flaws, there'll still be flaws, right? You are saying minimum flaws, which means there are still flaws, which means it is still not perfect. Right, Smita? The feeling that the result is not yet there. Yeah, the question, George, is that, if that feeling is right, the question is, what is your definition of perfect? Not perfectionism, perfect. What will tell you that this task is done perfectly? What will tell you that mm, whatever you have undertaken at this point of time is done perfectly or not? Ruhi saying leaving no stone unturned to get it right. But what is right? Okay. So if you realize phenomenal, outstanding, first, above, and beyond. So even if it is phenomenal, even if it is outstanding, are you trying to say it does not have any flaws? Are you, and what is the definition of phenomenal? Something that is phenomenal for me may not be phenomenal for you, and vice versa. So the question is, what will tell you that it is phenomenal? Should not be okay. There should not be any error in what you are doing. Okay, and how do you know that there is going to be no error? Right? See, if you look at whatever definition of perfectionism or being perfect that we have, are all vague definition. There's nothing that is tangible. Please understand. Okay, we define absolutely bang on, Ruhi. You are there. Looking at it again. Sorry, you're saying we define perfect for ourselves. Correct? So my question is that something which is perfect for you, if it is not perfect for somebody else, your thing that you need to do is you redefine what perfect means. Meaning, what it is essential for you to look at what is the tangible output. Okay, what is the tangible output? So I'll give you a classic example. In the beginning, I asked you that, what is the cost of procrastination that you are paying at this point of time? And you said the cost, some people said cost is high, or a time wasted. But nobody put in a number to it, right? And I help you put in a number to it. That is an average of 3 hours per day spent, spent in procrastination by an average person. Now it gave you a perspective, right? So what we're trying to say is, if you are able to shave off these 3 hours and get those 3 hours extra for yourself to get it done, then you are now being you can safely say that you have beaten your procrastination habit. You may be able to save more, you may be able to save less, depends upon the amount of effort you put in. But ultimately what matters is that, are you on an average able to save those 3 hours a day or not? The idea is that there is a number to it. Now I can say, if I have been able to go shave off 3 hours, then I know this, yes, this is a tangible output, and I am doing right. And this could be a definition of perfectionism, that I have put off 3 hours, or I have stopped wasting 3 hours for myself, and now I am, putting that to right use. So now I can call myself perfect. That could be a definition. So the idea now, what I'm trying to say is, you look at a tangible outcome. If you are able to redefine your perfect definition to a tangible outcome rather than saying no errors, no, nobody should talk about flaws, minimum flaws. See, these don't have tangibility, right? So if you're saying minimum flaws, what is the threshold of minimum? So always, if you look at, whenever in the manufacturing industry, when you look at producing a part, okay, so it could be a small machine part that you're trying to produce, that has a plus minus tolerance level. So it could be plus minus 0.05%, right? So that is an acceptable tolerance, margin of error that can be there, okay, in the dimensions, right? So that now is acceptable, or that now can be termed as perfect, right? Why? Because it is within the limits. But if you don't define the limits, it will be difficult for you to achieve perfectionism at any point of time. Does that make sense? Yes, no, maybe? Hmm? Okay. All right. So now that you've understood, what needs to be done, now you redefine perfect. You look at a tangible output. Okay. You set now a concrete objective. So what is the concrete objective? Very simple. I think one of the easiest way to set your objective is from X to Y by when. So let's say, for example, I want to go from a 10% completion of creating a presentation to 100% completion of presentation in 2 hours. That is a right way of setting a tangible output. Again, what is 100% is subjective. So you define what 100% means to you and write it down. So let's say, for example, it should cover 5 topics. If you have covered all of these 5 topics, then you can term it as tangible, or sorry, 100%. And then I can say that my presentation is complete or my project is complete. So define that. If you define that clearly, it'll be easy then for you to look at it from a different perspective and a better perspective. Now there is a model called as a superstructure model. What is a superstructure? Is there are always must haves. Okay. There are 3 things that you should always look at. One is the must haves, the others is the could haves, or and the third one is good to haves. Okay. So let's say, for example, you start off with any structure that you're building. Okay. So let's look at it from the perspective of that there is a base. A base is always a must, right? There is no two things about it. So a base always will have to be a strong base that you will have to build. It is a must have, right? There is no compromise in that at any point of time. So can you spend larger time in the must haves? Okay, as a perfectionist, you'll have to look at spending more time in the must haves. Then you, once you have finished your must haves, then you go to probably good to haves, and you look at it from a very small put a time limit to it. Okay, so the third point, set a time budget. So let's say, for example, every day I'm going to spend probably 1 hour to look at what are good to haves. See, good to haves are creative things, right? Let the person will get creative. People, the person will understand, what can I put into the design of the structure? What can I do to beautify it? What kind of painting or what kind of external things I want to look at it from? So all of that is a good to have. Once you, if you're wanting to focus on good to haves, and it is important for you to do that, you look at a time budget. So every day, 1 hour I spend on good to haves for me. And once that 1 hour is over, I put a hard stop. And that way you will be able to beat your procrastination habit if you identify yourself as a perfectionist. Fair? Yes, no, maybe. Is there any questions that you have? Please let me know in the chat box, or otherwise give me a thumbs up so I can move ahead. Okay, perfect. Now we go to the strategy, the attack strategy for a dreamer. A dreamer, like we said, okay, can somebody quickly tell me what's the trigger, or what is it? What are they triggered by? Dreamer, afraid to start. Absolutely, right? What they are looking at is they love to be in their imaginative world. They get their energy from imagination, right? Now, while imagination is a great power to have, or imagination is a very good thing to do, it's important for you to understand that there has to be a clarity in that dream that you want to. See, a dream will always be a dream if it is not put to action, right? And you can keep having such dreams. But ultimately, if they are not going to be manifesting in your real world, there is no point in getting into those dreams, or seeing those dreams, right? Because ultimately it's not going to be a reality. So it's important for you to understand that yes, it is good to dream, but can I get a little more clarity and turn my vision into objectives, right? So I have a long term vision, but can I talk about, probably put it into short term. I mean, first look at what are those objectives that I want to achieve on the longer term. Then, how much time should I invest? And the second point then is to break it down. So you get a longer term clarity. So let's say, for example, one of your dream things is to buy a luxury car, example, right? So if you want to buy a luxury car, if you keep dreaming about it, it is not going to come to you magically in your hands. What you have to do is you'll have to work for it, and for you to work for it, you'll have to get clarity. You have to define a path. How do I get the amount to buy that luxury car, and how am I going to get get to um, get to saving that money, get to doing things that are necessary for me to buy that luxury car. Okay, so if you put that vision into a objective and define a path, it'll be easy for you to achieve that. So first things first, in your for your dream, get a clarity. Then break it down into a smaller structure. And once you've broken it down into a smaller structure, put shorter deadlines to it. Now, when you have short deadlines to it, it'll be easy for you to take action. Otherwise, it'll be like, oh, you know what? In the 4 years, 5 years, I want to probably do something, but I don't know when. When it comes, it comes. If it doesn't come, it's okay. So a lot of times you give up. The dreamers give up on their dreams. If you don't want to give up on your dreams and you really want to look at making that a reality, these are three simple steps you can follow. Get clarity, break it down into smaller pieces, and set shorter deadlines for you to achieve those smaller, interim steps that you are looking at. Make sense? Any questions? If no questions, give me a thumbs up or a yes in the chat box. Questions? Guys, I need interaction from you. I need to see you, interacting with me in the chat box. Okay. Otherwise, you are not going to learn, and trust me, there will be no takeaway. All right. So please interact with me in the chat box. Yes, great. Nice to see you all saying a yes and interacting with me. Great. So that's about a dreamer. Then we come to a person who is a self-saboteur. Self-saboteur is a person who is underconfident and is, looking at, can I do it? Can I not do it? What is it that I have? Yeah, Smita, I will come to the combinations a little later. First, let us look at individual, things. Okay, I'll come to keep that part of the question. I will definitely talk about it. Okay, so self-saboteur. Can somebody quickly remind me, or tell me as to what is the trigger, or what is it that they are driven by? What are they afraid of? Absolutely, they are afraid to make mistakes. So they think that if I don't do it, it is easier for people not to point out any mistakes, because if I don't do it, there'll be no mistakes, right? Now, Your intention is right, yes. Some a lot of times your intention would be a right intention. But then, can you dig deeper into your intention and understand why is that intention, important for you? Get a clarity. You see, it's all every procrastination. This thing is going to start with a larger clarity that you want to have. Okay, so it's important to get a clarity on what your intentions are, right? What your underlying desire is. You don't want to hurt the person. You don't want to, showcase that you cannot do it. What are those underlying things because of which you are not wanting to, make a mistake? Or it could be probably that multiple times that person would have pointed it out as to, that you mean making mistakes. There could be different things that could have happened. Okay, so there could be a background to it. Now, uh, dig a little deeper to understand, what is your underlying desire? Why is it that you don't want to do it? Why, you don't, why do you fear that, why do you fear making mistakes is something that you need to dig deeper. If you understand, you go to the root cause, it will be easy for you to, look at. All right. Once you are, once you've understood, then you need to look at taking a smaller risk. You don't have to take a big risk. Okay, so a smaller risk could be making a small mistake, right? And telling the person in advance, saying that, oh, you know what, probably this could be a mistake that I could make, or there could be certain mistakes because I'm not able to understand whatever you have said. Okay, so giving that clarity to the other person that probably there could be certain things, right? Now, that is important for you to understand. Your underconfidence is coming because of the fear, right? So if you are able to, face, the only way to, get rid of fears is to face the fears, right? So if somebody is going to be pointing out a mistake, can you be upfront, tell the person that they expect some mistakes, and if there are mistakes, please let me know, I will correct it. Okay, it is easier to, do, I mean, easier to say that than you think it is, right? Give it a shot. It's important when the person knows what your intentions are. It will be easy for the person to overlook the mistakes, or even if there are mistakes, the person will tell it to you nicely, and you can rectify those mistakes. So that way, you have kind of managed your risk. And once you've managed your risk, slowly start building that momentum and start taking larger risks. That way you will build confidence. That way you'll be able to, do much better eventually. So people who said self-saboteur, is it making sense to you? Yes, no, maybe. Okay, are there any questions on this? If there are no questions, type in a yes or a thumbs up and I will go ahead. All right, fair. Then we move to the next one, that is a crisis junkie. And crisis junkie and busy bee are more or less, the strategies are the same, because see, crisis is also, it keeps you busy, and busy bee also, finds a way to be busy. All right. So crisis junkie, what is the person afraid of? Anyone? Yes. Yeah, crisis junkie are overconfident people. So these are people who are, what do you say, afraid to actually give time or spend time. They think that, it is an easy thing to be done. Why should we waste so much of time on this? Okay, for crisis junkies, it's important for you to get focused. All right. What is important? What is not important? All right. Now, when you look at, getting focused, it's simple. You make a, what do you say, a to-do list. You set deadlines for those to-do list, and then what you need to do is you score your to-dos. Okay. So how do you score your to-dos? So let's say, for example, the ones. Just hold on a second. Okay. So let's say, for example, you have these must-haves, which you could probably give the highest points 4 to 5, should-haves 2 to 3 points, and then good-to-haves you could give 1 point for the thing. Now, what will happen as a result is you will get to understand the overall score or the quality of work that you are trying to do. Okay, and when you understand that, it will be easy for you to it'll be easy for you to know where you are spending maximum time on, or what is the quality of work that you are trying to do at that point of time. If you are focusing on your most of the time on good to haves or things you feel are easy, then it will be it'll this the score will tell you what is the quality of work or the quality of output that is coming out, and that way it will be easy for you to then bring back your focus to the thing that matters the most. Okay, so bring your focus to the to-do list. Okay, think of what are the deadlines that you have, and then use that superstructure method, that is must haves, should haves, and good to haves, and then rate them as or score them individually, so that you get to understand at the end of the day, when you have ticked off an item in your to-do list, what has been the score, and that score will tell you the quality of work that you have done. Okay, and in exactly same approach you can take as a busy bee too. Okay, you look at the superstructure method, understand your priorities, then you set the deadlines, and then you look at how can you look at, I mean, what is the quality of work based on the scores that you have given. So I've covered two things in a go, that is crisis junkie and busy bee together, because the approach is largely the same. Do you have any questions on this? If there are no questions, if you've understood, just give me a thumbs up so that I can go ahead. Okay. I'm surprised there are no questions, because if you don't have questions, there are only it can mean only two things. Either you've understood everything, or you have understood nothing. Okay. So yes. All right. This is the attack strategy which you need to look at and start implementing, Kalpa, so that it will be easy to look at. All right. So Kalpa, if you have identified which is your trigger, use these 3 steps that I have put in that, and start implementing. I can give you a strategy, so which you can start implementing. The implementation will have to be done by you, not me. I cannot do that implementation, right? So you've identified where you belong, and if you've identified where you belong, you have to look at those 3 steps in that particular um, uh, because I mean the steps under that particular trigger or under that particular personality. All right. So now Smita had asked me a question. Okay. Crisis junkies are those people who will always say that there is a lot of time. Okay, which means they usually underestimate the time frame that would be required for them to finish a work. So let's say again, an example is that you know that you have 7 days to complete a task. You put it off saying that I have 7 days and this task is going to take me only 1 hour. So I will do it on the last day, because it is not because it is going to take only 1 hour and I have 7 days. So why should I spend my 7 days in working on that particular task? It is not going to happen. So let me put it for that last day, and that is when you have crisis, because you underestimated that time frame, and when you underestimate that time frame, it is obviously not going to give you're not going to be able to complete it in 1 hour, and that is where you create crisis for yourself. That is a crisis junkie. Clear, Nazin? Okay, Ruhi says must have, should have, and okay, must have, should have, and good to haves is a superstructure that you have to look at. So must haves is, without this it will not work. Should haves is the secondary thing after must haves. right? And the third one is good to have, and good to have is it is not an essential thing, but yes, people will appreciate if that is done. Okay, or if it is there, it will be like a added advantage. Okay, so that's what it is, Ruhi. Is the question clear? Is the answer clear to you? Okay. Now, Smita had asked me, how do you deal with two different personalities or two different triggers? Okay. So the answer to that is it could be any combination. It could be whatever things, there could be multiple combinations that you can see that you have as triggers. Now, when you see that there are multiple combinations, please look at dealing with it one by one, right? See, you one task, for one task which you're procrastinating, there'll be only one trigger. It cannot be that there'll be two triggers for it. Okay, you could have multiple triggers, but they will be for multiple such incidences or events or projects that you want to finish. So you look at one project that you are starting to do, think of the trigger for that, deal with it that way, and then eventually if you think that for some other project or some other task to be done, there is a different trigger. Okay, so perfectionism is the second trigger that you have. So then you look at how you want to deal with it that way. Make sense, Smita? Yes, no, maybe. Can I have a quick yes or no in the chat box? Okay, fair. Before we go ahead, any other questions? Any other questions? Please feel free to ask questions. I will be able to help you only when you ask questions, because that is when I know what you have not been able to follow. Okay, all right. Then the step number 3. Now, step number 3 is nothing but focus that we talked about, right? So you are supposed to give up, those small temptations so that you are able to do big things. All right. So I know, a lot of times people use this. It's such a overused word, and most of the times we don't understand what focus really means. So here is a simple, attempt for me to help you understand what focus is all about. Focus is a skill that lets you do more by doing less. Yes, no, maybe. Yeah. Focus is a skill that lets you do more by doing less, right? A very, very simple definition of what a focus could be for you. And I will explain it to you a little more in another thing. Okay. So usually our day looks like this. Okay. Usually our day looks like this. There are three things or three buckets of things that we end up doing. Number one is things we need to do. Okay. Things we need to do. And why do we need to do? Because let's say, for example, we have a job, that is something that is a part of our routine that needs to be done. Okay, so things we need to do are some things that we have. Last thing, the slide is maximized. It is full screen actually. Okay, so things that we need to do is the first bit. Okay, so anyways, I'm reading it out, so if you're not able to read it or see it, that's okay. So the blue thing is things we need to do. The need to do is, because it's a part of our daily routine, or because we have work to do, or whatever reason it is required for us to be done. The green thing is things we want to do, right? We desire, we want to do it. And then lastly, things we don't need to do and don't really want to do. Okay, and guess where we spend the maximum time? Yes, anybody would like to take a guess? Absolutely. It's a no-brainer, right? It is the third bucket where we spend the maximum time. Okay. Smita and Pooja, if you are spending the time in what you want to do, nothing like it. Which means you don't really need to have this session at all, because you are then not procrastinating. You are already doing what you want to do, right? So think of it again. Largely, we spend time in things we don't need to do and don't really want to do. Okay, so that's the third bucket. Now, having said that, you know, the idea of beating procrastination or focusing is to identify those things that we don't want to do and that we really should not do. Okay, identify those, eliminate those, so that we are able to maximize our green bucket, which is things we want to do. Also minimize things we need to do. Right? Does it make sense? That's focus all about, right? Focusing is nothing but you reduce those things that you don't want to do and should really not do. Okay, those two things you eliminate and maximize your things you want to do bucket, minimize your things we need to do bucket. Okay, so I said the definition of focus is the skill that helps you do more by doing less. Correct? Okay. So now adding to it, what I'm trying to say, I just explained those three buckets. I'm sure you understood those three buckets, what they are. What I'm trying to say is you need to focus on eliminating the things we don't want to do or we don't need to do. Okay. So I'll tell you what. Examples. Can anybody tell me what are those things that you don't want to do through the day? Or that you don't need. Okay, let's forget don't need to do. Let's say what you don't want to do. Examples. Yeah, I'll talk about it, Smita. I'll talk about it. Just hold on a second. First, let's look at what you don't want to do. What are those probably one or two things that you don't want to do and you are doing through the day? Okay, WhatsApp maybe. Are you seriously that you don't want to do that? Okay. See, everybody is giving me ideal answers. Huh? Kalpa, you are saying TV. Come on. I mean, okay, job. Uh, Worrying. Okay. Yeah, worrying is something that you probably don't want to do. I agree on that, Amrita, for sure. But let's say WhatsApp, TV. WhatsApp is a way to connect with people. TV is a way of entertainment, right? Social media is again a part of having a connection with our set of people. It depends. See how you're using social media, TV, and the other things of other sources of entertainment is a different story altogether. The question is, yes, something like worrying, I completely understand that you don't want to do, and you spend a lot of time worrying, right? Now, so what is it that you have to do? So you think of what can be done such that you focus. So let's say, for example, why are you worrying? Okay, why are you worrying is a question you need to ask yourself. If you think out, yeah, thinking, or rather I would say overthinking, Smita, because a lot of people tend to overthink and spend a lot of time, and that leads to procrastination. Okay, so that is something that you don't want to do but you're doing. Okay, now the idea is to identify these things that you don't want to do and really need not do it. Okay, so if you have been able to identify and put those things in those buckets, you shift your focus as to throughout the day what are those things we are ending up doing. Okay, be conscious about it and then consciously eliminate those, right, by focusing on things that we want to do. So let's say, for example, you tend to overthink. What is it that will help you not overthink, or what is it that you like to do which stops you from that from getting into the pattern of overthinking? something that works for you. It could be that you like to sing, dance, paint, do something else, right? So use that thing that you like to do or you want to do to beat the things that you don't want to do, right? While it sounds simple, it starts with developing that awareness that you want to have. If you have the awareness, it will be easy for you to cut down on the things that you don't want to do. Is it making sense? Yes, no, maybe? Smita, Amrita, Pooja. Okay, right? And see, when you focus your effort on what we want to do, your things that you need to do, can be minimized. Now I will give you, see, this is this concept, if you just understand it as a concept first, because practically there are multiple things that I will have to tell you and I'll have to go through it. It's in depth. So how do you get that, how do you get out of it, is a completely different thing altogether. But first understand what the fundamentally it means. So the idea is that focus or doing less is not settling for less. It means doing few high value things with a lot of quality, such that you know the other things become unnecessary. And if you have heard of the concept of the one thing, it'll be easy for you to understand this. Okay, what is that one thing that you can do through the day such that everything else becomes meaningless? What is that one place you should focus your energy on such that other things are taken care of on its own, right? Is a question you need to ask yourself. And again, that one thing is a completely new topic, or a large topic that I can cover probably sometime, some other time. But understand this, that by doing less is not settling for less or getting less. It means that you do a few high value things with quality, which you identify for yourself that these are going to add that value for you, right? So that eventually you get more time. See, if you get more time, or when I talked about getting those 3 extra hours, those 3 extra hours, if you put in use it for doing more work and become a workaholic, do you think there is any meaning of having those 3 extra hours? Yes or no? Is there any meaning in having those 3 extra hours if you eventually end up working more and becoming a workaholic? Absolutely no, right? Because what is the point of getting those 3 extra hours if you're not able to do something that you want to do, right? Or you enjoy doing, correct? So that's the point that I'm trying to make here. And for you to get there, okay, there are 4 pillars. And here are the 4 pillars of beating procrastination. So for you to get now from the theory to execution, these are 4 steps that will help you. Okay, so pay close attention to this. The first is to identify what is that one thing which matters to you the most. Okay, called as the most important goal for the day, for the month, for the year, whatever it is. Okay, so you identify what is that most important goal that you want to achieve. That most important goal has to be such that by achieving that goal, all the other things that you wanted to do gets taken care of, right? Now there is a skill that is required for you to get to this goal, and there is a way to do that. Okay, so you need to first identify what is the most important goal, or what matters to you the most. Then you go to understanding. So what happens is, most of the times when we set our goals, so let's say for example, and I'll give you a classic example that we have. So if you're into sales, you want to increase your sales by 10%, 20% is a usual goal that we set. But when we look at those goals, we feel scared, right? While they are numbered and they are exact, 10% increase in sales right now, we're struggling for getting, doing for whatever we are trying to do. It is going to be difficult for us to get to that 10% extra sales. So what is it that you need to do such that, so that 10% is called as a lag measure. Why? Because it kind of demotivates you from doing it. But can we look at it as a lead measure? So let's say, for example, if I want 10% more sales, okay, I need to let's say I get my current set of sales by by let's say talking to three new customers every day. Out of those three new customers, whatever sales and whatever this thing happens, that is a calculated thing that you have. So if I have to increase it by 10%, okay, which means I need to additionally talk to just one more person per day, such that I will be able to generate that lead, and then I will be able to get to have that 10% more conversion, right? So what does it boil down to? If I was making three calls to customers, prospective customers, now I'm making four calls. How easy or difficult is it to do one more call? It's easy. It will motivate you to get that done. If it is not done today, then probably you will do it tomorrow. So that's how you will look at it, and that is a lead measure. All you have to do is, look at whether you have done those four calls or not, rather than thinking of 10%, 10%, 10%. That 10% is going to eat up your, productivity. Okay. Now, going forward, the third pillar is very, very again important. That is having a scoreboard. A lot of times, what happens is, people do not know whether they are on the right track or not. Okay. So whenever you take up a project or whenever you want to ensure, see, one of the other prime reasons why you procrastinate is you don't even know, in the interim, whether I am winning or losing. Am I on the right track or not on the right track? Am I really going in the right direction, or am I making that impact that I should make or not? So it's important for you to understand that a scoreboard is very, very important for you to have. What is your score at that point of time? Okay, so let's say it is a 3 months project. In the first week, what has been my score? Or in the second week, what has been my score? Am I winning? Am I losing? If there is something that I am doing, I'm not doing up to the mark, which means something is going wrong. I need to take a course correction right now. I don't have to wait for 3 months to understand that, oh, you know what, all these efforts that I had taken actually are in vain because it didn't yield the desired result. Okay, so a scoreboard will help you track your score and tell you whether you're winning or losing. And the last is having a cadence of accountability, where you know it could be you or somebody else who is holding you accountable for whatever you are trying to do. Okay, so that accountability will keep in check whether, okay, you committed for this in this week, did you finish, yes or no, and what is your score based on that. Okay, so somebody is keeping a tab of it, somebody is ensuring that you are doing what you have committed to do on that day, on that, in that week, in that month. And if you get these four pillars right, there is nothing that can get in your way of execution. See, understand that procrastination is nothing but you wanting to put things for later, which means you are not willing to execute that you are supposed to execute right now. So these pillars of procrastination are nothing but helping you execute better, or help you taking that action better. Okay, so that is what the intention is. Any questions, any thoughts on the pillars of procrastination? Yes, no, maybe. Can I quickly have the chat? If there are questions, please let me know what questions you have. I can answer those questions. Okay. All right. I'll take that silence as a no. And for the next slide that I'm going to show you, I definitely want an answer from each one of you. Would you want to shave off these 3 hours of the day, get that extra 3 hours for you to be able to do what you want to do? Yes or a no? And I need an answer from each and every one of you. Yes or a no? Yes, yes. Others, can I have a quick yes from you? If it's a no, you can type in a no. That's perfectly fine with me. No problems. If you've realized that, oh, there's no point in having those 3 hours extra every day, I'm perfectly fine. That also could be a realization. Yes, absolutely, Pooja. Okay, so I have a program for all of you, which will help you, build those 4 pillars. See, right now I told you the basic strategies to identify, to the attack strategy, and what you can do to focus. I also introduced you the 4 pillars, and these 4 pillars are extremely crucial for you to be able to do that. Now, these 4 pillars I have put together in a program called as Get More Done in 2021. And this Get More Done in 2021 has few components. The first one is you get 4 comprehensive e-learning modules where you get in detail those 4 pillars, and you are able to look at those 4 pillars and form your own personal strategy of execution for 2021. That's number one. Number two is, after you have completed that, okay, so you get about 10 to 15 days to complete that. Then we get on to a masterclass, 3 hours like this that we had right now, where I help you fine tune, refine those strategies, and create a foolproof plan for yourself. Okay. You get a lot of worksheets and cheat sheets along with it so that you are able to do it easily for yourself. So you have a foolproof strategy at the end of this masterclass. After that, you also have 2 coaching sessions with me and a 1-year support. Okay. So this is all what you get in this particular program that I have designed, which is based on those 4 pillars that I talked about. If you get these 4 pillars right, there is nothing that can get in your way of achieving more. Okay. The regular price for this is $49 or $3,675, which I normally charge for people. But since you have been a lovely audience out here and you have been on this webinar with me for the last 90 minutes, I have a special webinar only offer for you, and you get this at less than 50% of the price, which is $21 or $1,497. For $1,497, I'm making you an offer of getting all these things that I have just mentioned on the left hand side.